Hello, crypto world. Welcome to the Chart Historian. My name is Justin, and on this channel, I delve deep into crypto charts, exploring chart structures, fractals, and patterns. Well, this is an XRP video, and XRP has just been kind of a sleepy coin as of late. However, I do believe that there is stuff to cover, so let's dive in. So this, for those of you who are familiar with my channel and my analysis, is the third range-bound fractal of the sideways range-bound time. That may sound like gobbledygook to anyone who's new. Stick around and you'll understand what I'm talking about. All right, so I have compared this third range-bound fractal to previous third range-bound fractals. There's always a danger in doing so, and a danger that I have had backfire on me numerous times, and it comes with the territory when comparing previous fractals to today's chart. However, I will do it and I will show you what it's looking like, and we'll take it from there. So the fractal that I'm going to compare to comes from 2016 and the very beginning part of 2017, right before it goes into the bull run. This is another previous third range-bound fractal. The functions that this fractal does is price moves up to a peak, which is part A. It then crashes or declines, which is part B. It then recovers, does a smaller correction, and then goes into the bull run. It always does this 100% of the time. However, every single time it does this, it looks different. And the reason why is the timing, the height, and the depth. Those parts of a fractal will always be unique to the new iteration. So even though the idea repeats, that is moving up to a peak, which is part A, the decline, which is part B, the recovery, and then the smaller correction, all those functions will always repeat, but they'll look different every single time, and that is due to the timing, height, and depth being different. So if we were to copy this fractal and paste it onto today's chart, it would look something like this. Now, bear with me, there's a lot going on here. So this gray fractal down here is this, just copy and pasted. Now I've stretched it to meet the timing, more or less, of today's chart. However, it's not very exact, so I show you how the different parts match up. So this blue box is this blue fractal right here. So as you can see, this part, it took longer to play out than it originally did, and that is something that we should expect with the timing, height, and depth being different. The next part of the fractal is the decline down to a low, which is part B, and that is this purple box right here. So this decline took place in a shorter amount of time than it originally did. That is the ratio. This part consumed much more of the overall fractal than it did today. So now we are in this third part of this structure. Now, in one of my previous videos, I was comparing this same structure to what was going on, and we were around this point. And I was a little concerned that today's chart started moving up, and it appeared to have skipped this. Well, it is my belief that as this structure continues to play out, first off, it's playing out larger than I initially thought. But I have no choice but to continue to analyze this structure as it plays out, and as new clues get printed, I will adjust my analysis to reflect the latest data, and that's what I do with these structures. So as this has continued to play out, we see that, yes, indeed, this structure, it is my belief at least, that it has not been skipped. It just played out uniquely. The timing, height, and depth was different than it was this time around. So this time around, this was more like a bottoming out structure, whereas today it has moved up back into the zone of these other peaks over here. But as this has continued to develop, it is, like I said, my belief that this structure is no longer a mystery. It has been accounted for, and we are now working on this part of the structure. Now, in my previous video, I thought we were somewhere over here, but with this decline, to me, is saying nope, 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 nope. It's just playing out larger and going slower than what you may have thought in your previous video. So I may have this drawn wrong. It could be like this. If it is, expect a decline right here before we begin on this part, however this part may look. Now, it could be playing out smaller. It could be doing something like this, and we're beginning to work out this part. I don't know. As this develops further, we will know. I will play it safe and pick the longer, more painful route than the more exciting route, but maybe I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. We'll have to see. So before we move on from this structure, there's something important to understand. So in the original structure, this was the small correction before the bull run. Just the way that this has moved up off the lows, it is in this range over here, which leads me to believe that this is likely the small correction. I could be wrong. This may print, but it may not be what we think it is. It could be smaller than it is. I don't know. We'll have to see. Unless this is a substantial correction, I would venture to say that this is the small correction, and this is just a little pullback on the way to moving out of this overall structure. So now let's talk about the pitfalls. So as I've mentioned in previous videos, doing this is risky business in the sense that you rely on one given fractal, one possibility from the past. But what we know about the overall macro structure is that these third range-bound fractals never play out the same. They always look original. The only thing that repeats are the functions. So by presenting this structure to you, there's going to be some of you that will latch onto this, and when it doesn't play out the way I am saying that it could play out, you guys won't be happy. Well, I'm here to tell you that that is a likely possibility. Something will play out different than what we see on the chart. If this fractal continues to follow it, I will map it out, but sometimes it just breaks from the past. But it still completes the functions that it's supposed to. So please understand that it could do something different than what I have presented with this fractal. Okay, so here we are zoomed out. This is the repetitive macro structure. I will explain it to you. Some of you who are watching this, you're probably wondering, what? How does the third range-bound fractal repeat the same functions even though it looks different? That doesn't make any sense to me. I've never heard anything like that. Well, here we go. So XRP has a repetitive macro structure. In this structure, there are three key substructures. So you have bull runs. These can take place on a large scale, or they can play out on a smaller scale like this. Here's another one that took place. They happen every so often. They are repetitive. After every single bull run that has ever taken place on the XRP chart, it is always followed by a substantial decline. These declines are crashes. They take a long time usually. They play out on different time frames, as you can see. Then comes the sideways range-bound time. This sideways range-bound time may look chaotic, but it's actually not. I break it into three separate fractals to show you the repetitive nature of this structure. So in fractal 1, you have two parts, part A and B. Part A, price moves up, it moves back down again, and then part B goes flat. Sometimes it arches down. We see that same thing repeat over here with part A. It moves up and moved down in today's first fractal, and then part B, it went flat. In fractal 2, there are three waves, wave A, wave B, and wave C. We see that take place again on today's chart, wave A, wave B, and wave C. Yes, it looks different. The timing is different, the height is different, and the depth is different, but it does the functions just like it should. In fractal 3, it moves up to a peak, just like it did over here. It then crashed really drastically in this one. In part B, this one was more of a gradual decline, like we saw in the 2016/17 one. It then recovers, does the smaller correction, and then goes into the bull run. So it is my belief we are in the smaller correction part right now. How this plays out, we have some guides from the past, but really we don't know. So I want to stress that I am not an oracle, I'm an analyst. I take structures from the past and compare them. I have more confidence in the macro structure and the functions that they do than I do have in a look-alike to some other time in the past. Let's quickly jump over here and examine this one. So we have the bull run, we have the decline, and then here is that sideways range-bound time. In part A, price moves up to a peak, it then moves down. In part B, this one arches down. In fractal 2, we have the first wave, which is A, and then B is just such an anemic wave. It's almost easier to tell it's a wave by the dips on either side. It is a wave, it's just a very small kind of pathetic wave. And then you finally have the C wave. In fractal 3, price moves up to a peak, which is part A, it then crashes. This one was more of a crash than a decline. It then recovered, did a smaller correction, and then goes into the bull run. If we move over here, we have the bull run, the decline, and the sideways range-bound time. Here's part A of fractal 1. Price moves up, moves back down. Part B arches down. In fractal 2, we have 3 waves, wave A, wave B, and wave C. In fractal 3, price moves up to a peak. It then declines, recovers, does the small correction, and moves into the bull run. It looks different, it looks unique every single time, but it does the same functions, even though, for instance, fractal 2, they're sloppy waves, but they are waves. So we have the same thing repeat over here, as I discussed in one of my previous videos. And here is the very first time it plays out. In the third range-bound fractal, it moves up to a peak, it then crashes, recovers, does a small correction. Again, it's in this zone where these other peaks are, and then it goes into the bull run. So that's why I believe that today's chart is the small correction, because it's in this zone of the previous peaks. So there you have it, folks. That's the way I see XRP playing out. I know this is a trying time. It's just continuing to go on. Many of you are frustrated. I get it. I'm frustrated too. But what can I do? I can only flow with what is being presented to me. And I could choose to get upset, impatient, or just learn to enjoy the ride. For all of you who do find value in this TA, thank you. It means a lot to me. I'm grateful to have you on board. For those of you who are new and this is your first time seeing this, I recommend hitting that subscribe button. I'll continue to follow up on this chart as it continues to develop. If you did find value in this video, it'd be much appreciated if you hit that thumbs up button. For those of you who are interested, I have a Patreon. I'll put it in the description of this video, as well as a Discord. In my Patreon, I have a series of videos that deep dives into the coming XRP bull run structure. It's a repetitive structure. And the Discord, which is connected to my Patreon, we discuss XRP and other cryptos. People share their thoughts, their ideas, their charts. It's the best way to be in touch with me if that's what you would like to do. This is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm so glad you caught this video, though, and I hope you catch my next one. Have a great day, and bye for now.